Hey everyone, Lisa here from Bariatric Surgery Nutrition, your source for resourceful nutrition information after bariatric surgery. So I'm here tonight. It's about 5:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, uh, and we're going to be discussing the concept of best weight. Asking yourself the question, have you reached your own best weight yet? Are you going to reach your best weight? And what does best weight even mean? Um, so that's what we'll be discussing. So if you're sticking around, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. Um, and I'll start off by explaining why we're talking about this topic. So aside from the fact that we discuss this topic often with our patients, probably without using those words, best weight. But myself and Monica often discuss this with our patients. And again, we'll be explaining this in detail soon. But I guess what sparked the inspiration of discussing best weight today is that Chip Reynolds. Chip is a man in Texas who has received bariatric surgery himself, and he has a podcast that he runs. And Monica and I have met him online recently, and we've been following him for some time, and we had heard his podcast. He actually did a little review of our book on his podcast, which was very nice of him. So thank you, Chip. It's funny because when Monica and I were writing our book, and although we discuss best weight with our patients, Chip actually read an excerpt of our book on the best weight topic because that's what struck a chord with him. And it was really funny because when he was actually reading the book out loud, it made me realize how powerful it really is to hear those words. And although it's in our book and not everybody has purchased our book, and you may not purchase it, and that's perfectly fine, but I want to share that with everyone because I think it's a super important thing to learn about. So it's an important topic because a lot of people tend to be disappointed about their weight loss after surgery. They see the improvements that it has on their health. They see that they're losing weight and they're very happy about it, but we tend to find that as the year approaches, or even specifically as the 6-month mark approaches, and people start realizing that the weight loss is slower, which is expected and which is anticipated, it seems to bother some people and really get to some people, even though they're on track to losing a great amount of weight. And especially after 1 year, when the weight loss stops, a lot of people tend to be disappointed because they wanted to lose more. They didn't get to their ideal body weight. And we need to throw that idea and that concept of ideal body weight right out the window. What does ideal body weight even mean? It's a formula, it's a calculation that's going to dictate your life and your health and how you should live and eat for the rest of your life? Absolutely not. Ideal body weight has been misinterpreted over the years. It's a formula or a calculation that was meant to assess a population of people, to assess Canadians, to assess Americans, to understand if as a whole, if we're looking at the average BMI of people, are they healthy or are they not? So, and that got skewed and twisted and misinterpreted and misrepresented, and now we use it for individuals. And that wasn't how it was meant to be used. And we're all guilty, all us health professionals, we do use BMI for the most part to assess a person's health. But it's not the only measurement, and it should not be the only measurement. Waist circumference is even more of an indication of your health than your BMI or your body mass index. But ideal body weight is based on your BMI, which again is a little bit invalid and should not be used for the majority of people. So this concept of best weight has come up, and that's what I'm going to read to you from our book, the excerpt on best weight. So the first thing that we have in this chapter, for this particular section of our book, is a quote from Dr. Yoni Friedhoff and Dr. Arya Sharma, who are leaders in the field of obesity, particularly in Canada, but are known worldwide, essentially. And they're leaders in the field of obesity awareness, and they very well describe the concept of best weight and what that means. So I'll read that off to you. The best weight is a patient's best weight is the healthiest lifestyle that a patient can realistically enjoy, not the healthiest lifestyle that a patient can tolerate. There comes a point when a person cannot eat less or exercise more and still like their life. The weight they attain while they are still liking their life is thus their best weight. So it's not a number that we need to be attaining because our doctor said we should weigh that much, or because a formula or calculation said we should weigh that much. It's a level that we can realistically attain, that we can maintain. More importantly, there's no point of coming down to a healthy body weight or an ideal body weight if we can't sustain it. That yo-yo effect has much more of an impact, negative impact on your health than keeping at a higher weight but keeping stable. So we go on to write in our book what your best weight really is. So your best weight is a weight where you can feel healthy, a weight you can feel healthy at if you were to ignore the number on the scale. And a lot of people tend to dictate their success and their progress on the scale, unfortunately. We need to weigh, we need to see where things are going, we want to see a downward trend, but the specific number does not matter as much as that downward trend. Your best weight is a weight where you're paying attention to what you're putting into your body, but you're not obsessing over calories and experiencing feelings of guilt. After surgery, I've heard it this week with one of my patients that, I have a slice of bread at breakfast when we were looking over her food journal and specifically specifying, I feel really guilty about that. I feel really guilty that I eat a slice of bread at breakfast with my egg. And there's nothing to feel guilty about. Carbs will not lead to weight gain because you have a slice of bread in your day. We have to look at the sum of it all. It's really the bigger picture and the larger story, and not the individual food that is going to lead to weight gain. Your best weight is a weight where you are moving your body as often as you can. The recommendations are 30 minutes of moderate intensity activity every day. Some people cannot give their time every day. Some people can, but it's easier to get distracted. Some people cannot give moderate intensity. Some people are more sedentary because they have mobility issues and they have arthritis and their joints hurt. They get out of breath very easily. So some people cannot give that amount of activity. And what we often tell our patients is that it's not about following those numbers. Yes, those are ideal, and that's what we see again on a larger population level, that 30 minutes a day of moderate to vigorous intensity activity seems to lead to better health outcomes, and then there's no denying that whatsoever. But at the same time, if you can't give it, there's no point of going to the gym 5 days a week for 30 minutes to 60 minutes at a time if you can't sustain it. So maintenance and sustainability are the most important factors. If you go twice a week to the gym, or if you go for a walk one day and have a Zumba class another day, and that's what you can maintain for the next 5, 10, 15 years of your life, so be it. That's what you're going to reach. Because again, there is no point of going 5 days a week for an hour each time, hating what you're doing, and stopping. Because that's where the yo-yo effect is going to be coming back in, even after surgery. Your best weight is a weight where your health is the best it's been in previous years, which is often the case after bariatric surgery and weight loss surgery. You have achieved a weight that you probably haven't weighed for as long as some people can remember. Some people have told us they haven't weighed this weight since they were an adolescent because they've had excess weight their entire lives. And other people may not get back to the weight that they were at. Some people will say, well, I was at a fairly healthy weight most of my life, and then certain events happened, whether they be pregnancy, an accident, depression, whatever the reason may be, and they get down to a much lower weight. It may not be the lowest weight they've been at in their adult life, but it's the best weight they have been in years, and that's important. Going on, your best weight is a weight that you can only realize you have achieved once you get there. So you can't give yourself a number ahead of time and anticipate or plan to lose a certain number without even losing the weight yet. And oftentimes a lot of people have these very unrealistic expectations coming into surgery of, I plan to lose 120 pounds, when in reality, the surgery itself may only lead you to about 80-pound weight loss, and that's with exercise. So having a realistic vision if you have not had surgery yet, or if you're early in surgery. So what your best weight is not determined by your BMI. It absolutely is not, because we have some patients who have a BMI of 55 and they get down to a BMI of 35. Technically, they're still obese according to BMI. Are they healthier? Absolutely. And we'll explain that in just a moment. Your best weight is not necessarily a number you'd like to see, which I think might resonate with a lot of people. It's a number, you might have a number in your mind, but it's not a number that may be attainable or realistic to maintain. I'll always tell patients it's not impossible to get down to the number you might have in your mind, but it may not be achievably realistic. Realistically achievable, I guess is a better way of putting it. Your best weight is not what an online forum thinks you should weigh. So, I mean, when there's a lot of people that compare themselves to other people, I get that very often in my clinic. Well, you know, my friend online or my friend on Facebook had mentioned that, you know, they lost 80 pounds in 4 months and I've only lost 45. You might have less weight to lose. Everybody's starting weight is different. So you cannot compare pounds from one person to the next. And lastly, your best weight cannot be calculated or promised to you before you get there. We have approximations with surgery. So depending on the surgery that you're doing, whether it's a sleeve, the bypass, the switch, or even the SATI or the SIPS, there may be different expectations that there are different end goals that we might expect. And these end goals are a rough approximation or an average number for the average bariatric surgery patient. And the average bariatric surgery patient is female. About 70% of people who have bariatric surgery happen to be female, not because men cannot benefit, but it's just females who, women who search and seek out medical attention more so than men, which is true in any medical, which is true for all health conditions, especially chronic diseases, which obesity is. So it's for a female roughly of the age between 40 to 45 with approximate BMI of 40 to 45. So that's what these these averages come to. So with a sleeve, we usually expect about 60% loss of your excess weight. So that is, again, using a BMI, unfortunately, but of 25 or a healthy, the limit of what a healthy weight is. Again, and I roll my eyes at that because health should not be dictated by a number. But we're using that range and we expect about 60%. So for those of you who may be new to this, if you have 100 pounds of extra weight, you would lose 60 pounds with the sleeve, 70 pounds with the bypass, 80 pounds with the switch, 80 up to 90 depending. For the switch and SATI, maybe somewhere in between the bypass and the switch. We're still not sure yet. It's still very early to have final results for that kind of procedure. It's still a very young procedure. But in giving you those numbers, I just want to give you the perspective that there's a lot of research and a lot of evidence and a lot of great studies that have shown time and time again that asking people to lose even just 5% of the total weight that they have will greatly reduce the risk of diabetes and of heart disease and of other chronic diseases. That's 5% of your weight. And that's without surgery. Okay, so if losing 5% of your body weight will greatly improve your outcomes and your odds of also living a longer life as well. With bariatric surgery, we're losing anywhere between 15 to 30% of your total body weight. So when people come in saying that I'm doing this surgery for health reasons and I'm trying to improve my health and I have sleep apnea and I want to run after my kids or my grandkids and I just can't get myself to it's difficult getting up to go to work every day, and it's hard for me to put my socks on, and you know, I'm out of breath just getting out of bed in the morning. These things will improve and your quality of life will absolutely improve. But it's important that to notice these things long term. And I often suggest to my patients ahead of time, if we're on that topic, to write down where they're coming from. Write down how you feel before surgery, or if you remember after the fact, if you're years out, write down how you remember that you felt. Look back at pictures and put yourself back in that moment, and remember where you came from, and remember how difficult things were, and reflect on how things are improving now. Because a lot of the times, although people have great results and great success after surgery, they didn't get down to the weight that they thought they would get down to. They didn't get down to an ideal body weight. Or what I often hear is, I'm still obese, I'm still overweight, I need to get down to a BMI of less than 25. And that's simply not the end goal of surgery. The end goal of surgery is to improve your health and improve your quality of life and improve your lifestyle. So that's where that concept of best weight comes in. There's an element of effort and there's an element of being happy and content. There's moderation, but then there's times that you will permit yourself certain foods. I'm exercising and I'm putting in the effort. I could probably put more in, but this is realistically what I'm able to do. So that balance, that concept of moderation applies in all aspects. And I think it's important to Remember that, because if you don't get down to an ideal body weight and you don't get down to a BMI of less than 25 or 23 or 21 or whatever number you pull out, that's okay and that's fine, because your health has greatly improved. You've improved beyond the 5% that improves your health outcomes in the long term. So remember where we came from and recognize where we are today, and recognize that ultimately losing an extra 10 pounds, if that was your goal, because that's the number you wanted, has nothing to do with improving your health. Once you've lost 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds, or in some of my patients, even up to 150, it's not an extra 10 pounds that will make a difference. But people tend to beat themselves up so much for not getting down to that exact number that they were going for. And oftentimes it can be detrimental, because you're trying to achieve to go further and further, when in reality, the goal should just be maintaining, because the risk of regaining is always there after that 1 year after surgery, a year and a half. So that's what I just want to communicate with you today, is the concept of best weight, and to challenge yourself in understanding the concept of best weight. I hope it makes you a little bit uncomfortable, and I kind of hope that some of you don't like it. I'm super happy if this resonates with many people and this is what you've been waiting to hear. But for those of you who feel a bit uncomfortable by it, or kind of think, well, no, I want to have that goal of getting to a certain weight, I don't mean for this to discourage you, and I don't want to discourage anybody. And I think that those goals are great. But just don't be disappointed if we don't get down to that exact number, which may not be your best weight, because it may not be sustainable in the long term. So that's what I want to say. So just finishing up, I just want to go over the little links that are going to be on the side of this video. We have our latest blog on the 5 mindset shifts that you need to make to be truly happy after weight loss surgery. And this concept of best weight also ties into that. So it was great timing and great inspiration. So again, thank you, Chip. There's a link to join our free monthly newsletter. We have our book for those of you who, if you like that content that we just read, the concept of best weight, you can go and buy our book, PDF version, or on Amazon, amazon.ca.com, Italy, UK, Australia, it's up there, and Belgium, I think, as well. And I encourage you to follow Chip. Chip is super inspiring. He's an avid runner. We love listening to his podcast and looking at his pictures on Facebook. It's super exciting to see somebody completely transform their life and just begin this journey that he went on, which might resonate with some of you and might inspire some of you. So if you're a man, great, he can represent. And if you're a woman, doesn't matter. There's many patients that I've had that are women who have had similar journeys. I could think of a few of them right off the top of my head right now. So you can listen to Chip's podcast. He has about 15 episodes going on right now, and you can also follow him on Facebook to be updated on his latest on his journey. And he's just reached his 1 year and just got a tattoo to commemorate it as well. So you can take a look at that and follow him there. I'm just going to go through the questions in the comments right now, since we're here and since you've joined us. Be aware of what you are eating, Shannon says. Be mindful. It's so important on this journey. Everyone is different. Absolutely. Everybody is completely different. So what I'm saying might resonate with some, or what I'm saying may not resonate with others, and that's perfectly fine. Everybody will reach different outcomes. Some people become super involved in their health more than they ever were, and will, change the way that they eat. Whereas I'll still get some other people who still may not cook and really will go for convenience foods, and that's fine, because the goal is that if I'm here today, I'm here tomorrow, and I'm just trying to build on that bit by bit. Everybody is on a different path, and everybody's from a different starting point, and everybody has different reasons that got them to the point of surgery, and everybody will have different outcomes after surgery. So that's perfectly fine. And it's important to recognize that. So I'm glad that you like this video, Shannon. And Krista says, thank you, this is so helpful. One thing I worry about is whether not losing the goal weight is an indicator that you'll gain all the weight back. Do you know if that's the case? I'm not going by evidence now, by research. I have not prepared myself to look at all the evidence, but from my experience, I've had people who did not achieve the expectation of surgery, I would say, or the average of surgery, but they've still been able to keep the weight off long term. I think what's important in answering that question is just being sure that we are ticking off all the boxes in, do I have the habits that comply with surgery? Am I doing the best that I can? I've had some people who don't reach expectation of surgery for one of the reasons being they just can't get themselves to exercise. They try, they've joined gyms, they've wasted a lot of money, unfortunately. They go out for walks, but it's just they work 2 jobs, and it's just impossible for them to really get out and exercise. They do what they can, but they just can't be active enough. So they may not get to the goal of surgery because those numbers that are given or the expectations that are given are with exercise. So they may not get to the goal, but they can achieve, they can maintain that level and moderate themselves in every other aspect of their life. So although they didn't get to the end goal, they can still keep that off. But then again, I also have people who lose way beyond the expectations and who gain a lot back. So the end weight that you reach at the 1 year, 1.5 year mark does not necessarily mean that is the weight you're going to stay at. Even if you're surpassing the expectation of weight of surgery. Some people lose way beyond because they had a lot of difficulty eating their food. They had a lot of aversions, a lot of nausea, and it didn't really go so well for them. So they actually lost a lot more weight than was anticipated. And then with time, as things improved and they felt better and they were getting, they were eating a little bit more variety in their diet, they gained back a few pounds. And that was a more realistic weight for them because they were under eating before. It was not realistic to keep up because they had too much dysphagia, too much blocking. And it took them time to learn to use the tool and to overcome some of the symptoms. So it can go both ways. I have people who stop earlier but maintain it. I have people who reach the outcomes and either maintain or regain, just as we have people who lose much more and also can maintain or regain. It all comes down to what's being realistic. Going to the gym 5 times a week, like I mentioned, for an hour and a half every day, and never permitting yourself any kind of treat, that deprivation or that excess of activity at some point will catch up to you. And then you'll have a reduction of exercise. And then you might introduce some little treats here and there. And that can result in a little bit of a weight gain as well. So what's important is that it's sustainable, it's achievable, I can maintain this. If you cannot maintain it, maintain the habits that you have for 5 years or 10 years, and you just can't honestly say that to yourself, then it's the weight that you're currently at may not be your best weight. But even if it's a few pounds more or 10 or 20 pounds more than where you're currently at, but I can maintain that and keep that for the rest of my life and be happy while I'm still putting in some kind of effort, that is your best weight. So that is the definition, the concept of best weight. So hopefully that answered the question. And that's about it for today. So we'll see you guys soon. Bye.